Yeah.
Nigel couldn't make it. I remember normally said he could make it.
Don't think this whole... Phil, credit to the guy, he's always managed to do well. Yeah. He is a shocking personality. You guys got a trophy? No. It was pre-bit.
No, my life from Rashad Mendenhall.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LOC Report. We are in lockdown, but we are pressing on, as is the LOC season, and as is Chris with his new look. How's it going, Chris?
That's absolutely. I'm going well with my lockdown facial hair. That's it. You know, this is my
yeah, ditto.
growth here, Nate. That's it. I had to say, some people it comes very natural, like yourself, but for me, this doesn't come natural at all. So
you'll get there. It's fine. It's like the NFL season. You're rounding into the playoffs, and then you're gonna catch a wind of steam, and then ride all the way to the Super Bowl. That's what you're gonna do through lockdown.
Absolutely, it's it. Come February, it'd be amazing. I mean, there are people. If you've ever met Mike Taylor on here, he will be laughing at me. That is someone who's got a strong beard, and
he does have a pretty good beard.
Yeah. See, even Ben, to be fair, his beard got reasonably strong, but.
Yes, yeah. I remember, yes, because when we had the AGM, of course, yes.
But I'm not sure I'm going to get to those sort of heights, to be honest.
It's the intent that counts, and indeed, you're very lucky to have a podcast, dear listeners, because as anyone in the league will have seen this thing, I got the new Xbox, so the fact that I've not been dead to the world and continue to be is quite miraculous. But anyway, we're here to talk about... Mike's already commenting along, actually. Before we even get to the news, he's saying, I am laughing, so there you go, Chris.
Yeah, I would be too.
Okay, and with that then, let's get to the league news. Mike's already doing it, but please do comment along if you would like to. We will take a whistle-stop tour of some transactions this week, because definitely there were a number, but there were a few interesting ones. First off here, we've got Duke Johnson to the Dream Team, dropping Jared Cook for $11. Obviously, David Johnson, he is the David Johnson owner, suffered that concussion on the weekend. What do you make of this move, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very solid, very consistent, and very viv. And I have to say, you have to do it. You have to do it. It's it, because if a guy like that goes down, it's well worth picking up. Yes, they haven't been great this year, but you know, he's going to be the number one guy in that in that backfield. They're playing in Cleveland. So
revenge game.
Anything can happen.
Revenge game. No less is it?
Well, yeah. Yes, indeed. So yes. So I think that if you're going to lose someone like that, you better pick up his handcuff. Yeah,
absolutely. And obviously, you know, coaches in the past have been hesitant to give him the starting workload in Cleveland, so there may be some revenge there, and even against his former head coach, perhaps Bill O'Brien. Trying to prove something there as well, because obviously he's been in Houston for at least a year now, and they never gave him the full. So perhaps this time round we will see him unleashed. The next one I have here then, only two notable ones I picked up this week, and he's back again to Gridiron Gang. Mike Davis for DJ Dallas, $6 this time round, as Mike said quite eloquently in the chat. Liked him so much I paid for him twice.
Yes, very much so. I mean, you know, I think with a guy like that, he's obviously proven for you that he can do this year. He's playing Tampa this week, which isn't great, but you know, we saw what McCaffrey did last week. I don't think that's going to change their schemes too much, you know, with him out. So yeah, it's a good pickup for $6.
I was to and froing, because I was like, obviously yesterday we had absolutely no news on what was going on with Christian McCaffrey, other than, you know, he has this shoulder injury, which Ian Rappaport on Monday said is quite serious, and then only a day after, Matt Rule said is day to day. So it was a bit of a gamble. I am very surprised at the number as you are. Like I say, originally I put in a $15 bid, but I, like everyone else, was so... Who knows if McCaffrey will actually be fine or not. I settled in where I did, and effectively that was enough to get him, and I don't know, outbid whomever else. But yes, he does make his way back to my team for another week at least. That is all the transactions. So no trade news anymore either, with the deadline passing. So we'll go then straight into last week's games, and of course As always, we'll start off with last week's marquee matchup, which was the Gold Star Bowl. It was bucking the trend against Forge Flyers. Bucking the Trend and Forge Flyers faced off in Week 9's marquee matchup, the Waypoint Bowl, no less, the Co-Worker Bowl Mark II, you can also call it. Chris is the hottest team in the LOC, I suppose, entering this one, facing a Bucking the Trend team that had very much been hot or cold. Well, they were hot, and the Forge Flyers 6-game winning streak is over as Bucking the Trend take this one, 111-76. Looking down the lineups for Bucking the Trend, Tua Tagovailoa, what a start. The guts to do that after certainly his first outing, but he delivered a handsome 25 points, which was just as well as Justin Jackson delivered a big fat 0 when he got injured. Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, the stalwarts of this team obviously performing 13, 24 and 17 apiece, but nice showing from the special teams too. 11 from Brandon Manis and 15 from the Titans. On the other side of the ball, Forge Flyers opted to go without Lamar Jackson, which wouldn't really have made a difference. As Chris likes to say, may as well not have bothered because they both got 18 points, but that's an okay score. Christian Kirk got 18, he's been a nice revelation for Forge Flyers, and Terry McLaurin, obviously with a big catch, 18 points as well. But yeah, the main guy's not doing it last week for Forge Flyers, so Forge Flyers fall to 6-3, Bucking the Trend will jump ahead to 5-4 in the history of this matchup. Well, Bucking the Trend have only got their first win against Forge Flyers, as they are now 1-2 all time against Chris. It had to come to an end at some point, Chris, but still in a good spot at 6-3.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, good things can't last forever, and I think after 6 consecutive weeks of winning, it's about time I felt as I wanted to lose again. Yeah, and I tell you what, it was a convincing win by Mike. We forget that he's carried a player here. It's still scored 111 points, which tells you all you need to know about that team, really, is that it's still very good. Massive, bold, but as you say, very bold player tour, but that's definitely paid off for him on the day. 25 points, a really, really nice score. His big play receivers have turned up again. Hill and Metcalf, really, really good, especially in reasonably difficult matchups. And yeah, that's it. The supporting cast was good as well. Jacobs with decent yardage and touchdowns, what you're looking for. Robbie Anderson was disappointing, as was DJ Moore on the other side, but it wasn't. They forgot what receivers were on the day, it seemed.
Unless your name is Curtis Samuel.
Unless your name is Curtis Samuel, but even then,
the ultimate troll.
Yes, very much so. And the Titans did their thing on the Bears. Whilst for my team, the thing that's missing, and it was the engine room this week. Really, I think Henry and Connor. Obviously, Henry had a lot of carries, but didn't do anything with them against what is the stout Chicago Bears defense. But the Steelers really did let me down against Dallas. I had a feeling that that would be the way it would go. Well, I thought it would be more positive than that anyway. It didn't go obviously go the way that I wanted to. 22 yards only against the worst rush defense in the league. Plus, the defense didn't do anything near like what they should have done against a quarterback that has hardly started an NFL game ever. So, yeah, and obviously the Panthers forgot what receivers were and had DJ Chark on the bench, but I'm glad it didn't make a great deal of difference in the end, to be honest. Yeah. So yeah, there wasn't a route to victory for me, which was great. Good performance from Mike, well deserved, and yeah, one definitely I think with his team is one to look at going forward, because if they can put together these sort of performances with their big play guys, then they've got the potential to beat anybody on their day.
Absolutely, it is quite funny if you follow. Or if you look at the all-time wins document here, the win-loss stuff, it's funny when I update the total ones each week, because it seems Mike is determined to go back and forth between one game ahead of 500 and one game below 500. It's like the ultimate equalizer, but he's one game ahead at the moment, so we'll see what next week brings. But yeah, but both teams are looking good, or in a good position, should I say, for the playoff race. Our next game then, it was Ben Acestes against Ixan. Ben Necessities took on Ixan in Week 9. Ben Necessities, they snapped their losing streak last week. Meanwhile, Ixan picked up a loss after a couple of gypsy wins, of course. But last couple of weeks, they have been rightfully put in their place by the opposition. It's just outscored again. That's not to say Ixan didn't do badly, because they did get 99 in this one, but the opponents got 125. For Ben Necessities, it really was a tale of a few players. Josh Allen, 42 points. Dalvin Cook, 37 points. That's a bad week for him, amazingly. Travis Kelce, he got 16 too. Nothing else really doing there. On the other side of the ball, the random number generator did come through with Kirk Cousins. He got 27 points. Jerry Jeudy, that was a nice little start. He got 19. And Christian McCaffrey, the only thing that could spoil his return with 27 points was Dalvin Cook, but also he picked up that injury at the end of this game as well. So doubly bitter loss for Ben here as he falls to 5-4 now. Meanwhile, Ben Necessities, keeping their season alive, moved to 4-5. The history of this matchup all time is 4-11 in favour of Ixan. Ben Necessities certainly not done yet, it would seem.
Definitely not. No, but again, carried by their two big players, and this is what we missed earlier on in the year. I think when they were getting beaten by guys who were scoring. They were scoring 90 points, and the other team was scoring 100. And they went through that very down period of scoring 70, 80, just lackluster points. But because they didn't have Josh Allen doing that, I mean, granted, against Seattle, that is a historically bad defense. But Dalvin Cook's the big shot in the arm, and the fact of the matter is that when he's scoring crazy points, the last couple of weeks, 30, 40 points a week, that gets you across the line in games like this, where otherwise they wouldn't have otherwise won. As for Ben, he somehow got his ragtag bunch of players across to nearly 100 points. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey coming back in makes a massive difference for him. He couldn't have done an awful lot more with what he had there. Obviously, Mark Andrews on the bench that could have put in for Gronk, but I understand why he didn't do that. That's the difference is the star power, and Allen and Cook have done just that. I mean, say Kelce, we see as well every week putting in that sort of yardage and those sort of points, and I think he's quite underrated on that team. But the worrying thing perhaps is if those star guys aren't performing like that, going nuclear every week, then we've got a big problem. As proven earlier in the year, but fair play to Dave. He's trucking on nicely with riding the wind of Dalvin Cook at the moment, whilst Ben. Every time you get to nearly 100 and lose, it's always a bit galling. But there's definitely shoots of improvement and something to look forward to, really, because although McCaffrey's out again this week, when he gets back, he's an absolute stud for them. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I can empathise with Ben probably better than anyone this season. As our two teams have been in pretty much the exact same situation. It must feel if it was, it's almost like for Golladay for me. He came back and now he's gone again as well. It is just brutal, but we keep going, and that's by no means a bad score. Our next game then, it is Mahomes under the hammer against Tom's Tyrants. Tom's Tyrants, with their season on a lifeline and a 3-game win streak, they have been making a comeback of late, and they faced Mahomes under the hammer, who, again, they had a mini loss streak of their own, which they reversed the week before. But Tom's Tyrants sent them right back to the L column with a 121-95 victory and a 4-game win streak now. They really have come back well. For Tom's Tyrants, Justin Herbert, he got 27 points. Todd Gurley got 12. Antonio Gibson got 10. Keenan Allen got 16. Devontae Adams got 23. Younghoe Q 12. And Giants D 13 points. So as you can see, a real team effort there with Allen Robinson, the only player in the 10. He got 8. On the other side of the ball, it was a great start on Thursday night for Ross. He had Aaron Rodgers get 37 points. But really only Diggs, Kamara and the kicker came through with 12, 11 and 15 respectively. The rest of the team did not show up. So both these teams are 4-5 now, albeit as you can see in different ways in the history of this matchup all time. Tom's Tyrants is 5-5 all time against Ross. As you can see, if you're watching along, but if you can't, Chris is on the phone at the moment, so I will just talk through this game while he's on the phone. If we start with Tom, obviously, his team has been in absolutely great form the last 3 weeks. They really are reversing the fortunes of their team, and as you can see, there's no one guy in particular. Devontae Adams has been having great games. He's done so again, as has Keelan Allen, the main beneficiary of Justin Herbert, who happens to be the quarterback of this team. Even Todd Gurley has been putting up solid RB2 numbers all year long. And guys like Alan Robinson and Antonio Gibson just chipping in, and then you've got a good special teams day as well. It's easy to see why Tom Tyrants has a very stable floor at the moment, but of course can put these high points up. Are you back with us now, Chris? It's okay, he's not. But looking on the other side of the ball, for Ross's team, it's been a mixed tale. They have shown brilliance at times, but they've also shown really bad tape at times as well. Obviously, when Aaron Rodgers is ticking, this is when this team does well. He did so here. He gave them the good start. But the problem you see is Aaron Jones, he was a guy he was really relying on earlier this season. Obviously, he's had that calf injury and he's been out. Didn't perform in this one. He's relying on 2 Saints running backs, which if you're going to rely on 2 running backs on a team, the Saints are probably it. But, the Tampa Bay run defense is one of the stoutest in the league, and predictably didn't quite give them fire here. Mike Evans has not been a great option all season long, certainly not when Godwin's been in the lineup, and now Antonio Brown as well. And Diggs, he's been solid, but I said to you, Chris, last week, you look at stuff in Diggs' score, you can pencil him for 10 points a week and not much more.
No, that's right, especially in a game where Josh Allen's throwing absolute bombs. And, he's a consistent guy. You're going to get, you know what you're going to get from him. But he's not like on the other side where you've got guys like Keenan Allen and Devontae Adams who are every week going to get you a touchdown and plenty of yardage. So, yeah, it's the thing for Ross is that he's got some, as you say, the Rodgers and one more, whether it be Kamara or Jones. Outside of that, I just don't see where the consistency is going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst with Tom right now, it's the change in QB for him has massively helped. Obviously, Justin Herbert is a stud, and that brings Keenan Allen back. Obviously, Antonio Gibson's our number 1 guy. Gurley's chipping in, as you said. Devontae Adams is just every week seemingly scoring over 20 points. So once you have that sort of momentum, then you're going to get back into the game. And from where he was earlier in the year, I think that he's going to be certainly a contender in that division because he keeps scoring those plus 100 points.
Yeah, for sure. And Ross, maybe under the radar team that we missed in Debate Corner last week on the teams that we could potentially be forking, not performing.
It's still quite unlikely, but you never know.
You never know. Our next game then, Gridiron Gang against the Dream Team. The Dream Team faced Gridiron Gang last week, the Winchester leading Dream Team, and they were the number 1 seed entering this one as well. Faced off against the division's bottom dweller at 3-5, very much looking to keep their season alive, and that's exactly what they did. It wasn't pretty, but by hook or by crook, 84 points to 61 points. If we look down for Gridiron Gang, the amount of points here from the waiver wire is absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I'm going to flip over to the recap because I know there's a graph on there just to show the points by acquisition. Over 3/4 of the points for Gridiron Gang from the waiver wire. And when you look down, obviously Matt Ryan, he was added lately. He got 28 points. Marvin Jones and DJ Dallas, the 1 week run-to players, both got 10 apiece. Will Fuller had a nice day with 16, but nobody else above 10 points there. On the other side, it was really what the Dream Team weren't doing more than what Gridiron Gang were doing. Russell Wilson got 26 points. Obviously, we know what this Dream Team is. They need a good Russell Wilson day to compete, but nobody else got over 10 points. And David Johnson obviously suffered that concussion in the game as well. So the Dream Team now 6-3, but still leading our division by 2 games with what happened in the other game in this division. Gridiron Gang keep the season alive for at least 1 more week at 4-5. And the history of this matchup all time is 5-8 in favour of the Dream Team. This is the week I think we've been waiting to see from the Dream Team all season, because we have been saying they are so Russell Wilson based. That if he doesn't quite perform at an elite level, and if nobody else does anything around him, then they're just not going to do well.
I mean, that's definitely the case. However, we don't forget that he's carrying a player because Corey Davis didn't receive any sort of service.
Yeah.
And we also, he scored 1.5 points on David Johnson, who's got a concussion. So, yeah, that doesn't help. And I think that, if he's not, for example, he's obviously got bye week problems, but he's carrying 2 defenses, right? This is a problem that I've got. Why would you have 3 defenses on the same team? I just don't quite get it. Obviously, Kittle's now on IR, so that's probably half the difference in this game.
Just to frame this for you, Chris, because it is ridiculous. So we obviously had David Johnson go down with the injury in the game, Chris Godwin returning from a broken finger, Damien Harris entering and leaving the game injured.
Yes.
As you say, 4 bye weeks, of which 2 are defenses, and George Kittle on IR. It's a combination of, yes, there's a lot of injuries there, but there's also, as you say, I get he's obviously picked up Corey Davis and played him from the waiver wire anyway, but why not take a few more chances?
Yeah, agreed.
That's it. Yeah,
I agree, and it's just I don't know, it's interesting bowl of roster management, and when I say interesting in bowl, that's not necessarily a positive thing.
Well, no, you're exactly right. Sorry to cut you off, but this is the problem we see with these league-leading teams each year. And Viv is a team that has lots of budget, which is good. You need that for late on in the season for these good teams, but he's not used it at all. The roster is barren, and this was, we were talking about this team, I mean, week in, week out, on the power rankings, routinely at the top, and all of a sudden it's just looking, the bye week, let's not read too much into it, but Nick Chubb's coming back as well, let's not forget, so he's losing Kareem Hunt at the elite level. You're right, the depth has suddenly just disappeared.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Landry's to come back this week, and I suppose the number 1 receiver still, but what's that worth in Cleveland at the moment? I don't really know, especially with Baker out this week. So, yeah, it's challenging. I mean, look, the matchups are awful as well. So you've got Goblins in New Orleans, Davis against Chicago, Pittsburgh, Buffalo away. The Jets are in there. So, but look, it's not something we can knock. I mean, he's carrying 2.5 guys.
Yeah.
Whilst for you. So you don't. Your waiver guys have done what they needed to do. So your DJ Dallas and Marvin Jones, particularly Marvin Jones, they both got the touchdowns. They've got themselves to a serviceable point. Will Fuller's, had a good day. So he had a classic Will Fuller touchdown on the day. And say it could have been more. I get that the Tyler Lockett thing. He could have picked up a touchdown, and then that. And especially earlier on in the year, we've seen some crazy things. Antonio Brown, you've got to play someone like that just in case. I know, and for you as well, the bench wasn't unbelievable neither. So yeah. But I mean, you're right. Scraping by with an 83-point win to 60 is a little bit gypsy. I'm not gonna lie.
No question.
But we all have these wins, and yeah, that's it. And some of the players that. That you've picked up, which anyone else could have done, Viv included, have won the day for you.
Exactly, yeah. And I did say in the preview of last week's game, I did catch Viv on a very good week, but yeah. Our next game then, it is a Southampton division showdown. Pakistan against Badernators. Pakistan took on Badernators. It was the division's bottom team entering the week anyway versus the division's top team. But only a win separated them, Badernators against Pakistan. That's changed now because Badernators won this one. They go to 5-4. Meanwhile, Pakistan fall to 3-6. Looking down, the score was 103-85. Looking down the lineup for Badernators, Deshaun Watson came back and he put up a very Deshaun Watson line, 28 points. James Robinson, he chipped in with a nice 16, Julio with 11, Brandon Cooks with 14, and Harrison Butker with 11, and a few other high single digits there en route to their 100-point day. On the other side of the ball for Pakistan, Ben Roethlisberger, he got 31 points. AJ Brown, he got 16, but nobody else in double digits. David Montgomery did leave the game with a concussion, but not the best of their Pat, but not the worst. But not enough to overcome Ollie's team. The history of this matchup now is 4-4 all time. So with Ollie's win, he ties the series. So another win for Badernators, and we'll see what happened in the other game, of course. But looking good for keeping hold of that Southampton division right now.
Absolutely, yeah, they've kept on chugging. I I have to say, so there's a couple of guys in there that you have to commend, Ollie. I think Robinson and Cooks, particularly Robinson's, one of the pickups of the season, I think.
Yeah.
And Cooks' second half of the year second half of the year, maybe second third of the year has been really good. I mean, since Bill O'Brien's gone, he's sort of been uncorked, and he's the number one guy there. And I think that when you have someone like that, you can bring in, number one receiver at that point of the year. It makes hell of a difference. Especially when you twin it with his QB, but with the sort of page that we like to see, just over 100 points. Pretty much everyone's in double digits. Shame about the Cardinals' defense, but no one quite understood why Tua did what he did.
No,
he did well. That's it. I mean, we've been saying this for a couple of weeks. That he's obviously got the pedigree to be able to do that. But yeah, I mean. The value that Robinson's brought to the team has sort of outweighed the lack of value that Edwards-Helaire is sort of showing now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that doesn't matter too much in this team because they're quite well-rounded, albeit in reasonably good matchups all round. With Pat, well, it's a great spot start. Roethlisberger, can't argue with that. Playing Dallas, I suppose it's obvious that was the way to go. But outside of AJ Brown, again, it's a bit of a concern again that there's no touchdowns. When there are touchdowns, this team is great. This team is 18, 20 points more, and they're over that 100 points, and they're difficult to beat. But I think when Michael Thomas isn't playing New Orleans, when you've got guys like Deontay Johnson and Justin Jefferson, they're very touchdown dependent. I know they've got reasonably good yardage on the day, but both against pretty terrible secondaries.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those for Pat. He's just got to hope and pray that they start throwing. Obviously, he's still got to cook Amari on the bench. Still got Mixon to come back. He's got Debo there for what that's worth, and Tannehill to come back. Now Roethlisberger's on the COVID list, so. There's definitely some shoots of positivity for Pat, but unfortunately they're going to wear thin quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, it's week 10 and Pat still has not fielded his best strength roster. It's a narrative we keep spinning. Next week might be that week though, because as you say, Mixon back off of bye. Obviously Cooper, whatever he's at, maybe with Garrett Gilbert and a better matchup could do better. So maybe next week is the week for Pat. But it drops this one here. But Detonators moved to 5-4. Our last game of the week then, it was the other Southampton division matchup. You Are Gold against the Tuckfards. You Are Gold faced the Tuckfards. You Are Gold very much needing a win to keep up with the Detonators. The race in this division, especially as they strung a few losses together. Meanwhile, the Tuckfards, talk about stringing losses together, they were on a 3-game slide entering this one, looking to reverse that. Well, they weren't really looking at anything as they lost 88-71. If you look down the lineup, Kyler Murray basically getting half of your Gold's points as he normally does with 44. Nobody else got over 10. Brilliant. On the other side of the ball for the Tuckfards, again, Mahomes, he got 39 points. Well, we could probably just stop the analysis of this game then because exact same story for the Tuckfards there. But obviously what's not captured here is the points total would have been 80 for the Tuckfards, but they received a 10-point deduction for the IR violations, which are still not resolved either. So You Are Gold pick up this one to go to 5-4 and tie the division lead with the Detonators. Falls to 3-6 in the history of this matchup all time. Cash for Gold are now 4-3 all time against the Tuckfards. As you like to say, Chris, we might have a ghost ship on our hands. The ship didn't do too badly this week, but obviously the point deduction further compounded the issues.
What's most frustrating is this is a game that I think if he'd have tried and put out his best team, he probably would have won. I think we might well have one of those on our hands. It's been a long time since we've had a driverless ship, as it were. But yes, it's it. And I have to say that Patrick Mahomes, the Tuckfards, is like a dirty old rug covering up a hole in the floor.
Well, you're right, because you look at the bench, and let's say he resolved the IR situation, well, there's 10 points right away there, and he's obviously playing the Ravens against Indy, right?
Cool.
Surely, that's the 8 points. He's won. He's won just with that.
Yeah. And you're obviously playing Juju over, well, almost anyone you could think of because he's playing Dallas. So
Adrian Peterson. Why is he still in the
too,
lineup? Yeah, it's madness.
So yeah, that is infinitely frustrating. But it's his call. If he wants to do that, then that's up to him. And there's nothing much more positive I can say about Ollie Gardner's team in the sense that he did pick up TJ Hawkinson, which was a really good pickup for 10 points.
Yeah.
And outscored all his other skill positions, which is hilarious. You know, Kyler Murray again. If Patrick Mahomes is a dirty old rug, then Kyler Murray, well, that's it. You know, he's a mirror over a crack in the wall, isn't he? So these two teams are the same at this point. That's it. They're categorised by terrible skill positions that are out of form and two QBs that are keeping them afloat, and they're the only way to keep them going throughout the course of the year. Because I can't see where the points are going to come from otherwise for Phil's team. And, you know, for Ollie, he's got to hope that Nick Chubb comes back and hits the ground running because that is as good as it gets. Yeah,
no, that's a succinct and fair view. And, we correctly lambasted the skill position of your goal last week, and we were right to do so. But, as you say, there is a bit of hope with some guys coming back there. But, as you say, for the Tuck Fards, well, they just need to pick the team to begin with, but before we can think
that would help.
Yeah. So that is all of last week's matchups. I should have said as well in the news section, obviously we did hand down the first points deduction in LOC history to Phil's team last week. Rest assured there is a plan in place. Phil will face further discipline if the situation does not get resolved, and the competition committee is also ready to step in. So we have something planned as well should the issue not be resolved by Sunday. So we'll reveal more on that as and when we need to. But the message is, Phil, change your team, mate. Come on. And then we get to the standings then. So first of all, we'll take a look at the Southampton division. Obviously, the Detonators were in the lead, still are, but it's still on points, though those points basically do equate to an extra game. It's about a 100-point gain over your Gold in second place on the same record. And then Pakistan and Tuckford's 2 games behind now at 3-6 apiece. Moving to the Portsmouth division, a win gives Fortify's lost, but they still retain sole possession of the division as Ixan lost and bucking the trend. They did win, but they were 2 games behind entering this one. So they're both 5-4, while Chris is 6-3. And Ben Estes, again, they're keeping up at 4-5 at the bottom there. Then in the Winchester division, the league leader entering the week and division leader, 6-2 Dream Team, had a chance to extend that, but they couldn't, so they stay there. But they got away with it because Tom's Tyrants beat Ross's team, who were at 4-4, so they're now both at 4-5, and obviously Gridiron Gang beat the Dreamsters. They're at 4-5 now as well. It is ridiculously close. If you look at the overall tab, 10 teams are either in a playoff position or 1 win away from it. That's ridiculous. It's week 9. It's a very close season. Obviously, a lot can change in a week. But
we had one of these a couple of years ago, did we not? We had it all the way down to the last day.
We've had a few across the years, but this is shaping up for another nail biter where we've got 4 5-4 teams and 4 4-5 teams, and 2 of those 5-4s are currently the playoff teams, obviously. So one of which is the wild cards. So yeah, very close. Looking at the breakdown tab, Viv has been very good, but he did ship that 0-11 last week with a bad score, but still at the top, chased closely now by Ben Necessities, who had an 11-0 week. And Tom's Tyrants, my goodness, they are back from the dead. Obviously, they were in at the bottom of this category only like a month or so ago, but they're now right up to tied second even. With they were one game away from 3 perfect weeks in a row. They're mightily impressive. But Ednader's right behind, and Ross's team as well. Obviously, they've been a bit more middling. And Ixan, the one to point out there, and Chris, actually, you surprisingly, both in 7th, but both playoff position teams at the moment. So, and even your Gold there are only one. They're tied for the division lead, and they're down there in 9th with a negative record. In fact, all 3 of you have a negative record. What's going on?
I have no idea.
No, that's mental. Yeah, especially because you've been on a 6-game win streak. I don't know how that one works. If we look at the Yeah, no, coach ranking, the usual suspects at the top, Ixan and Ross's team. Obviously, Ixan's been flying by the seat of their pants, and Ross never had much depth to begin with anyway. But if you look at a team like, Viv's and Mike's, they are having a good coaching season, as is Bare Necessities. Not much great changes here outside of all that. Put that all together in the true power rankings. Dream Team at the top. Ross's team still surprisingly at second, but that is driven partly by the coach ranking. Bare Necessities in third, Ixan in fourth. Actually, it's a three-way tie for third place, I should say, with the Detonators as well. Then you're just behind Chris, as is Mike, who are also tied on the points ranking there. So, as you would expect it, I think, at the moment, is the summary of that. In terms of milestones this week, Tom's Times notched their 90th career win, so well done, Tom. And Coach Nunn notched his 60th career loss, so one on either side of the spectrum this week. Now we'll move on to the week 10 matchups. Obviously, keep an eye out for the power rankings as and when they drop this week. But we'll give you the week 10 previews right now. Chris, we do have a podcast bowl. It is me v you, Gridiron Gang against Forge5 right at the top. But we also have Mahomes Under the Hammer against Detonators, Tom's Tyrants against the Tuck Fards. That's the second and third all-time win teams facing off there. Ixan against Palestine. Bare Necessities against You Are Gold, the Bears Bowl. We can call that one. And then Bucking the Trend against the Dream Team. What do you think we should go with for the marquee matchup this week?
Well, the podcast bowl seems like the obvious one, but I mean that would be 2 weeks in a row for me, and that seems a little bit egotistical. So I'm not going to. I think that I like the Bears Bowl because they're both in the Last Chance Saloon.
Okay, let's do it then. Bears Bowl for the marquee matchup of the week. It is Bare Necessities against You Are Gold. Bare Necessities face off against Your Gold in a Week 10 Bears Bowl marquee matchup. They are both Bears fans, and they will both be hoping for a win, obviously. Bare Necessities are 4-5, trying to keep up in the playoff race and the division. Your Gold, they're 5-4, tied for the division lead at the moment, but have a significant points disadvantage, so need all the wins they can get. Projections have this one going to Bare Necessities, though, at 94 to 89. Looking down the lineups for Bare Necessities, I think Cole Beasley has come to the lineup. This must be the only time this season that Bare Necessities has had two receivers in a game. That's because Travis Kelce is on a bye. J.K. Dobbins also goes to the bench for, I think, Jonathan Taylor, most likely. And on the other side of the ball for Your Gold, Kenyon Drake, comes back into the lineup. Cooper Kupp as well. Drake was injury related, Kupp was on bye. Tim Patrick is also in, so lots of shuffling at the skill positions. Hawkinson, Slayton and Mooney, I think, will go to the bench. And Nick Chubb could even possibly be available for this one as he comes back from injury as well. I would say both him and Drake are questionable at the moment. For Bare Necessities, clean bill of health. There's a few questionable guys, but they probably will play. And Al Lazard could be back soon as well. History of this matchup all time. Bare Necessities is 2-4 against Cash for Gold, or You Are Gold. Over to you, Chris.
All the golds. Yes. Now look, I'm going to start with You Are Gold. And I think for the right reasons here is that obviously we got the QBs playing against each other, and I think that they should even themselves out based on who they're playing against. So yes, Kyler Murray's playing Buffalo. They haven't been that great on defense. We've been talking them up all year, but I think playing them at home is definitely better than playing them away right now. Whilst Josh Allen's obviously been great all year, and I'm not too scared of that matchup. So we're going to forget about the QBs for a moment. But after that, it's all about the skill positions. And, well, let's be frank, the matchups aren't brilliant, are they? Yeah, Thielen against Chicago, not great. Patrick against the Raiders, not great. Hollywood Brown against the Patriots, not great. The only sliver of light in there is Cooper Kupp against Seattle, who could be in for a reasonably big day. And the Bears against Minnesota, but only if they can keep hold of the nuclear Dalvin Cook. So, I don't know. I haven't got that warm fuzzy feeling this week about that team. especially if Drake is a little bit banged up and isn't 100% fit either. You know, you look to the bench and who you're playing, where it's probably Slayton or maybe even Mooney. You know,
or Chubb if he's back as well.
So, yeah, if Nick Chubb comes back, great, but I just think it's maybe a week too soon. On the other side, you know, so we go the three-pronged attack again. Obviously, Dalvin Cook is there playing against that defense, and you know, they bottled Derrick Henry up last week. I know that. You know, that doesn't bode too well, perhaps, but at the same time, that's it. Dalvin Cook's in much better form, I think. So, yeah, I think that he's on for another big day, especially in prime time. But then you look at this, you know, see Parker. Yeah, will he play well with Tua playing at home against the Chargers? Well, I wouldn't say he won't. That's it. Did well last week. The Chargers secondary not been unbelievable. That's it. It's been okay, not unbelievable. That's it. Cole Beasley playing on the same team in the same matchup, so it's definitely got scope. Taylor against Tennessee, I take it. So especially if he can actually keep hold of the ball rather than fumble it every 10 minutes. Melvin Gordon has maybe not been that bell cow that we expected him to be, but he's been serviceable at times. So, and I don't really like the Dolphins' D against the Chargers with Justin Herbert in this sort of form neither.
No.
So there's a lot not to like about each team, but I just have a better feeling about some of the skill positions on Ben Sessions than I do about UR Gold. I think as a result that may well see them through, and they have got the form player in the league. Let's be honest, right now. So yeah, I think that'll see them through. I think Ben Sessions will win this game. And UR Gold, unfortunately, will have to rely on a lot of Kyler Murray, some of Cooper Kupp, and a hell of a lot of luck to get through this one.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's kind of curious because Ben Necessity started the year, even when we're racking up those losses, as a very deep point spread team. Obviously, they lost Dalvin Cook for a bit there. But they've seemingly transmorphed into very much, again, reliant on Josh Allen, but it's Dalvin Cook or bust everywhere else. To be quite honest, especially with Kelsey on a bye now as well. So you're not wrong there. And Melvin Gordon, what the hell is going on with him? Is he getting the suspension for his DUI or what? I just no idea what's going on there. Anyway,
can't quite decide, can they?
No, yeah, and yeah, UR Gold, look, they are suffering skill position deficiencies. When Drake and Chubb are healthy, this team will be fully back. But as you say, they're not quite there yet. It's perhaps a bit of an uninspiring game on paper, but a very crucial one for playoffs. So I agree, Ben Necessities probably will do enough to take this one, but could be close. We'll see. Our next game of the week then, it is bucking the trend against the Dream Team. Bucking the Trend face off against the Dream Team. Bucking the Trend again looking to keep up with that wild card. They have the record for it, but not quite the points. Meanwhile, the Dream Team, they lost last week. They could afford a loss, but many more, and they'll be thrust back into the playoff race as well instead of having a nice cushion at the top. Projections are they will take this one against one of the ultimate boom and bust teams in Mike's team, 91-77. Looking down the lineup for the Dream Team at the moment, David Johnson's still in there. He is in the concussion protocol, but they do have Duke Johnson in case he can't go. Kareem Hunt slides back into the lineup, as does Jarvis Landry over Ezekiel Elliott, who goes on bye, and Damian Harris, who is playing the Baltimore defense. The Eagles defense comes in, they've got 3. I suppose that's noteworthy. On the other side of the ball for bucking the trend, let's see what changes have gone on here. So it looks like Leonard Fournette's come in for Tyreek Hill. He's on a bye. Justin Jackson obviously has come out as well for, I think, Philip Lindsay. So a couple of changes there. But quite a low projection for bucking the trend this week. History of this matchup all time, the Dream Team are bucking the trend. 1-1, so the series is level. Do the Dream Team come roaring back this week, Chris, or is it?
I don't know if they come roaring back, but I think they're going to come back. I just think that Mike's team this week is just looking a little bit patchy. There's a few holes that he's half dug and he's half filled there. The start of Philip Lindsay is, I don't know. it could be okay, especially if Gordon gets banned by the end of the week, which I just don't think he's going to do, as I've just been reading there. But if they're both in, his upside gets capped a lot. I mean, there's some things I like in there. That's it. I think Metcalf's going to be used a lot, especially if they're coming from behind.
He'll face a lot of Jalen Ramsey, though.
He will, but, I mean, the guy's a freak.
He is a freak.
Jalen Ramsey is not a freak. He's good, but he's not a freak. Do I like Anson against Tampa? No. Do I like Fournette against Carolina? Not really. Do I like Jacobs against Denver, who've been reasonably stout against the run?
Yeah, they're a pass funnel defense. Yeah, very much.
That's it. So, I think we know where they go in there. I don't know. I think that I said the same thing last week and got burned for it, I have to say. But then again, it's Tyreek Hill isn't playing this week, and that was 25 points less. So, do I think that Leonard Fournette at the moment or Philip Lindsay is a replacement for someone like that? Not really. But do I think on the other side that Viv's team is much better? I think Russell Wilson has got. He's always playing from behind, but if he's throwing those bombs, he's going to be throwing them to Metcalf. You would think, if not, maybe a little bit of Lockett, but and he's going to have to. But that's not an easy place to go. Kareem Hunt, so again, if this is the last week that he does it, it's a good one because Houston get gashed against the run. But and obviously Landry's in a decent matchup as well. But I don't like it for Godwin. I definitely don't like Corey Davis, by the way, in that one. No. And Duke Johnson, well, who knows what you're going to get from him? There isn't a great deal else that he can turn to on the bench. He's still holding those 3 defenses for some reason. I can't quite understand. So yeah, I think the projection may be that little bit lower than that it initially says on the right hand side there for Viv. Who's going to win? I don't know. I think that Viv showed enough, but he's going to have to rely on Wilson, Kareem Hunt, and one of Godwin or Landry to pull this one through. I think the Eagles did playing the Giants, but for what that's worth. For Mike, I mean, he's got a rookie QB who did well last week, a stud number 1 running back, and DK Metcalf, who we all like, but outside of that, it's patchy. So I think Viv but I don't really like that call this week, I have to say.
No, I mean, usually we fall on the same side of the coin, but I'm actually going to go for bucking the trend in this one. Just a feeling, but obviously you're only as good as your last game. It is true with anything, but you can't read too much in the last game, of course. But Dream Team, I think it's clear that they always have been a Russell Wilson-led team, and the surrounding supporting cast props that up. Well, the supporting cast has actually gotten a bit worse than it was, so it puts even more strain on needing a good Russell Wilson performance, which absolutely could happen. Obviously, he's cards on favourite for MVP this year, but I don't know. And bucking the trend, they had a good week last week. Yes, they were without one of the key cogs of that team, Tyreek Hill, but I don't know. I think they've got enough there that they can find the points somewhere and get a mini upset here, let's call it. So, Dream Team, bucking the trend for me then. Our next game of the week then now, it's the podcast bowl, of course. So it's Gridiron Gang against Forge Flyers. Gridiron Gang take on Forge Flyers. The podcast bowl comes in week 10 of the LOC regular season. The 6-3 Forge Flyers leading the league, might I add, and the Portsmouth division are projected 89 points, but Gridiron Gang projected 93. Gridiron Gang need to keep the wins to stay in the playoff race, but Forge Flyers looking to keep out ahead, of course. Looking down the lineups, Drew Brees comes in for Matt Ryan, who goes on the bye. Robert Woods comes back from his bye over DJ Dallas. Mike Davis comes in. He's back again for Gridiron Gang over Marvin Jones. And the rest is unchanged there. On the other side of the ball, Jared Goff comes in for Derek Carr. Mike Williams comes into the lineup with DJ Moore. And otherwise unchanged there for Chris. The history of this matchup all time, Gridiron Gang are 10-8 against Forge Flyers. got to love a podcast bowl, Chris.
This is a storied matchup, Nathan. I have to say, 10-8. There's not many matchups that you can say that about.
No.
I think here that we're both trying to play the matchup as best we can. At this point, so we're talking about the QBs for the time being. Obviously, San Fran's secondary is just shoestring, while Seattle's defense is awful. So it should be a real interesting battle between those two. Obviously, Jared Goff's coming off a really, really bad display against Miami, so
it's a few bad weeks. I think. Yeah,
but he's had a bye week in between to sort his head out. So
exactly.
See the best of it. Robert Woods is in there. Hopefully that should help us both sort of equate it a little bit. But after that, let's go after that. So, Mike Davis against Tampa, and Antonio Brown against Carolina. I mean, the projections there are high.
They are oddly high. Yep.
Particularly for Antonio Brown, I think they're pretty high. But I think Davis could well have a nice day because he's going to be their number one guy, and they're going to get scoring chances. But that is a tough defense to play against. Fuller in Cleveland. That's it. Well, hopefully weather's not a problem this time for them, but he is dependent on whether or not conditions work and that's it. Game scripts going their way. And Houston have often played from behind this year, and Cleveland have got that QB in there. Different QB other than Baker in there, but let's be honest, Baker hasn't been that good, and they've run around all sorts of teams this year. So we'll see how it goes there. Obviously, Lockett in the same game as Jared Goff, but as we said before with the Russell Wilson thing, they're going to be playing from behind, and you'd like to think going to be thrown a lot. So I think he's in for a good day. And you've gone big time with the Saints as well at the bottom. Special team and the kicker.
And Bruce.
That's it, at home, playing against whatever QB they wheel out this week. Should be fun. As for my team, yes, that's it. Derrick Henry is playing Indianapolis. Not ideal. Second week in a row. It's a very tough defense, but I can't drop him. I can't do it.
No, you can't drop him. Him on Thursday night, God, he'll just rattle off a 99-yard touchdown. That's what he usually does.
Well, it's happened before, and I didn't play him in that game.
Unreal.
So I still have bad memories of that. But we're going for the matchups this week. Okay, Connor should rebound. You'd like to think Cincinnati. That's it. Playing them at home. They like to roll them over there. Mike Williams playing in Miami. Say he's had a couple of good weeks. I think that with Justin Herbert there, his stock's only going to improve. Christian Kirk's been the real
Very
find
good.
off the way. I have to say,
brilliant.
McLaurin's playing the awful Detroit secondary. I mean, hopefully we'll see a bit more of a rapport with Alex Smith. Obviously, Alex Smith's going to be the QB there now. It's stuck up against Carolina and the Steelers D against Joe Burrow. Well, who knows what instance of Joe Burrow we're going to get this week? Whether we're going to get the rookie one or we're going to get the guy who's been slinging it all year. So, but they're good for a few sacks. I know that much. So I think that the points are probably, if you take into account the fact that Antonio Brown is probably going to be, he's projected 11. He's probably going to score half that, if that. It's going to be quite close, I think.
I might pivot to DeAndre Swift as well. I don't know. Leaving him in there for the moment. We'll see.
And if you do, then yes, it is.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there. It's about the same.
It's a so-so one, but I think that you probably got it right when you say with Breeze, Woods, the special teams, and maybe a bit of Tyler Lockett as well. I think that you've got the potential to definitely find and Mike Davis is probably due for a touchdown anyway. I think you've probably got a route to win this game, Nath. I like your team this week.
Thank you.
I like your team. I don't get me wrong. It's not like I dislike mine.
No.
But I think that I'm reliant on Goff, Henry, and Connor to perform, and without that, it was obviously proven last week that it's not enough to be able to get you to positions where you can win games. And maybe I'm a little bit concerned about that, but I'm hoping for a rebound. But I wouldn't be surprised if you were competitive in this game and perhaps won it.
Yeah, no. I think it's on paper going in, it does look like a very competitive game, an interesting one. You covered my team pretty well. I won't cover anything more there. You got it all right. And for your team, it's Jared Goff. It's obviously a absolutely plus matchup, and you'd like to think that he had a bad 3 weeks before the bye, but with the bye week and everything at home, you got to think that he's going to have a good day there. And as you say, Henry and Connor didn't really do it for you last week. They have been your engine all season long, and a large part of that 6-game win streak he had. It's not often both of them don't play well on the same day. I find it hard to believe that not one of them, if not both, are going to have a good one here, despite not a great matchup for Henry. And yeah, like you said, the rest, you've got another 3 guys there who are completely capable of putting points up as well. So very close game in my eyes. Injury wise for your team, clean bill of health, so you've got options should you change your mind, but I think what you've got in is right at the moment. For me, Kenny Golladay probably won't come back with that hip injury, and a couple of guys on bye. I'm going to lean my team as well, more than anything, just I need the confidence of I've got to keep winning. And as you say, that I think I'm much like Joe Biden, there's a route there somewhere for me to find enough of what I need. But also it wouldn't be surprising if that all fell away and you just got back on the horse.
I'm happy to concede when I lose, mate. Yeah.
You have something different with someone else then. Our next game of the week then it is Mahomes under the hammer against Bedenators. Ross's team faces off against Bedenators in this. It is a founding matchup actually in week 10 in the LOC. Bedenators leading the division on points, need the wins to keep coming to create a nice bit of a gap there, but yeah, for Ross's team, he needs to get a win quick, otherwise this could soon turn into a lost season. Projections do have it that way, though, 88 to 78. Looking down the lineups, it is unchanged at the moment for Ross, but he has a D on a bye, so he'll get a few more points from whatever player he should select. Probably not anyone on the bench who would, well, maybe Marcus Valdez-Scantling, he'll put in as well. On the other side of the ball for Bedenators, they also need to change their kicker out, so a few more points there. Elsewhere, Chase Edmonds, obviously, is very dependent on what happens with Kenyon Drake. Tyler Boyd has come into the lineup, as has Jalen Rager for Julio Jones and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who go into their bye. So, perhaps a good week for Ross to face Ollie. The history of this matchup all time, Bedenators are 4-4 against Ross. So, yeah, this one will take the series. Take it away, Chris.
Well, that's it. It's definitely the week where Ollie's encountered all the gnarly defenses, isn't it? Really, let's look at that first of all. Yeah, I mean, when you're going playing Cleveland, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, the Giants, who aren't no slouches on defense, and even the Miami defense at the moment. That's it. Looking at that, there.
Yeah, they have definitely been resurgent. Yeah.
So that's it, and I don't know. I look at it there and think to myself, well, Robinson is very game script dependent, because you look at that and you look on the other side and there's Aaron Rodgers and you think Aaron Rodgers is going to eat the Jags in this, to be honest. He is going to absolutely eat them alive. And if they fall behind and they've got to throw it, then well, I don't know where Robinson's really going to stand. His upside is capped. What we saw in the last game, Deshaun Watson and coaches seem to have that rapport. Can they keep it going? Away, reasonably difficult place to go this time of the year. I want to see it. Tyler Boyd playing Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh got ruined by the Cowboys last week. They're going to
can't see that happening again.
Yeah, they're not going to want to have that, especially against a rookie QB at home
and a division rival.
And that. So that's not going to happen again, and I think that's a difficult one. And Jalen Rager, yes, he's coming back from injury, playing the Giants away. I mean, it's here or there. It all depends on his QB. Carson Wentz has been up and down all year. As for the other side, in a game like this, if I'd probably drop one of the Saints running backs and put MVS in this week. I know I don't really like him too much, but Rodgers is going to be thrown somewhere. In the last game, he did really well. He was obviously locked in on there.
Certainly have Amari as well. Don't need both of those guys.
Yeah. Aaron Jones in the same game. So you'd think that he's going to have a bit of a bounce back. Same with Kamara. I like all of that. I like all of that. Stephon Diggs against Arizona, I like that too, in what's probably going to be a high-scoring game.
Hey, what do we say? Pencil him in for at least 10 points a game.
Absolutely.
But not more than 12.
Get yourself a defense, and Viv can talk to you about that. and you win it. I think that Ross has got definitely more upside this week, mainly reliant on the Packers. But when you've got Rodgers, Jones, Kamara, and probably Diggs in plus matchups, and plus a defense if you can get one, that's going to score you 5 to 10 points. I think that's probably going to be enough here. Ollie's done well the last few weeks, but all those places this time of the year I would not want to go, particularly Green Bay and Cleveland, and even Pittsburgh, to be honest. I just don't see. And if Edmonds sits and Drake is back, then they have to play Ronald Jones against Carolina, and that's equally as bad. Or even Higgins against Pittsburgh, which is, as we said before, just as bad. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring week for the Dados, and I think the Ross has definitely got a large avenue to win this game.
Yeah, it's it just has the feel of one of these annoying games for Ollie where he's been a points magnet all year long. You can easily see a couple of players, a few players booming for Ross's team in Rodgers, Kamara, possibly even Diggs, Jones. Those guys just have such upside potential that they don't necessarily always come through. But no, you can almost feel it in your bones. I think you're right. And Ollie's team, he's been pretty damn good, Ollie's team, this year. But you're right, it's the bye weeks have hit him hard, and obviously with Drake coming back as well, it's just cut away at this week as well. And I agree that I got burned by the Chargers in what I thought was a good matchup a few weeks ago. It's just, if I gave him any advice, I'd tell him to find another defense now. But no, I think you're probably right. It looks like Ross could pick this one up. Our next game then, it is Tom's Tyrants against the Tuckfards. Tom's Tyrants face the Tuckfards. It's the league's new hottest team, with the Forge Flyers lost against the league's least hottest team, or coldest team if you will. Both have 4-game streaks. Tom's is the right way, Phil's is the wrong way, and the projections, albeit a very alarming 71 to 54, do reflect that in favour of Tom's Tyrants. When we look down the lineup, it is easy to see why. Tom's Tyrants unchanged from last week. They do have Todd Gurley and the kicker at Young IQ on a bye. You'd figure it's probably Miles Sanders. I'd imagine he'd be back. He's questionable this week. So that is a big boost for them as well. On the other side for the Tuckfards, Mahomes is on a bye. He's been carrying this team. They will need to find a quarterback from somewhere. And, he may make the changes, but there will be changes made if not, and possible further penalties for the IR situation. But that is the team as it stands. With the history of this matchup, we got Tom's Tyrants are 8-10 all time against the Tuckfards. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and guess you probably don't need 2 minutes for this one.
No. It's just... I think even if Phil changed his team, there wouldn't really be a great deal in there. I just think that when you've got Allen and Adams on the other side, and Robinson, even Gibson, all those guys, they've got good matchups. There was Justin Herbert as well, with Allen on the same team is a bonus. But if Phil doesn't change his team and he keeps Patrick Mahomes out, then it's regardless of what happens, you cannot win in this league without a QB, or it's certainly very difficult to do so, especially with the skill players that he's got. I don't see it happening. I just, I'd love him to get involved and change it again, but I'm not sure that's going to happen, to be honest. But if it's going to happen, the Packers are going to have something to do with it. I think the Hopkins would as well. Otherwise, he's reliant on the Saints. Saints, particularly Sanders, doing something in the game. He might bring Juju in, but it hasn't happened for 3 weeks, so why would it happen now? And if he was to change his QB, there's limited options that he could pick. Maybe Derek. I dropped Derek Carr earlier on. Maybe he would do that against Denver. That's not a bad shout. Maybe he might even go really bold and start Nick Foles against Minnesota, possibly. But does it matter?
No.
Does it matter at this point? So he's got himself in a position where he could still do something, but giving people buys at this point is always a bit disappointing. So I think it's going to be an easy Tom's Tyrants win. Even if he didn't replace the two players on the bye, I think he still win.
Yeah, that tells you what you need to know, really, doesn't it? You're right. It is a shame because the Tugfarts, they had a really good start, and they're only 2 games behind in the division. And obviously, we saw a winnable game last week, and so it certainly looks like Tom Sarrant's will win at the moment. But as I said earlier, the committee may be stepping in to intervene anyway. So, but not likely to make the difference, even if that does happen. Our next game and last game of the week, then, it is Iksan against Pakistan. Iksan take on Pakistan in the final game of Week 10. Both these teams carrying a 2-game losing streak. Iksan need to turn that around as they are in great danger now of losing that wildcard spot. Meanwhile, Pakistan absolutely must win every game from here on out. Projections have this, again, very low, 67 to 64. And amazingly, currently both teams do have full lineups. But if we look down, McCaffrey is doubtful. He will likely come out. Chris Carson, I would imagine he returns, but he is still questionable. On the bench for Ben, who comes back in? It's Gronk, Bernard maybe if Mixon's out. He's still got Mark Andrews and Jerry Jeudy, so we'll see what happens there. On the other side of the ball, for Pakistan, obviously they've got Ben Roethlisberger at the moment, but you got to figure it'll be Tannehill as he's on the COVID list, and Tannehill's the Thursday night game, so that's an awful situation for Pat. David Montgomery's still in the concussion protocol, so unsure if he'll play. And then, as at the moment, the rest of the roster is unchanged, but they could be getting Joe Mixon back. Also, Deebo Samuel. Excuse me as well. I think for Ben, Brandon Ayuk has come into the lineup over Gronk. Is possibly the only change there as well. So, history of this matchup all time: Iksan are 3-4 against Pakistan. Chris, did Pakistan have anything left in the cupboard to somehow make a comeback?
Yes and no. They're 2-star receivers. I say 2-star receivers so far this year anyway. AJ Brown and Justin Jefferson do find themselves against the 2 toughest defenses in the league, and that's not good. Thomas has got a nice matchup if they can get him going. I'm not sure I like the Colts against Tennessee anyway, bear in mind the amount of weapons that they've got, but it can sometimes work. Deontay Johnson against Cincinnati, so he's been the number 1 receiver really in that offense when he's been fit and when he's been going. And if David Montgomery's fit against Minnesota, that's not too bad either. But he's a new QB, obviously. Tannehill's on the bench playing against the Colts, which is tough. But I'm not sure there's anyone on the waivers that's really going to give you the same sort of upside, especially when you've got AJ Brown on your team as well. On the other side, obviously Ben's a bit banged up still, but if McCaffrey's not going to play, I don't think, from what we've been hearing. But if Chris Carson plays, that's a big shot in the arm for them, albeit he's game script dependent. Darren Waller against Denver should be okay because, as we know, that's a trash matchup on defense. But otherwise, it's it. Patriots against Baltimore. We've seen what Lamar does when things are going wrong for him and things are in his face. But I don't know. That's it. The Fulgham, Ayuk. If McCaffrey's out, then he's coming back in. Jerry Jeudy probably, and Drew Lock. That's speculative. At the very best, but again, it's matchups against names, and I think that Pat's matchups are pretty bad, but his names are obviously better, especially those 3 receivers or 4 receivers. But if you're playing Tannehill doesn't do a great deal, if Montgomery doesn't play, and you have to then play, well, I guess you would play Mixon.
I imagine he'd be back.
I'd probably play Mixon anyway, to be honest. Then it's not too much of a change, but Tannehill in a trash matchup against Drew Lock in a okay one, I think I'd probably still back Tannehill.
Yeah, it's I did miss Drew Lock on the change as well. The next quarterback to start a game for Ixon this season. They're worse than the Dallas Cowboys.
Is it? Yeah, indeed. So yeah, do I go for Ben's team based on that? It would be very difficult, but there is certainly a reason. There'll be certainly a route to victory, albeit with an unknown receiver, 2 rookies, and a tight end, and Chris Carson and Drew Lock. Whilst the other side, yeah, I like the names of Johnson, Brown, Jefferson, and Thomas, but I think in reality it could be quite challenging for them to find a way out. So it could be low scoring. I think Pat might have it in the tank, but I'm going to go for Ben on this one just.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go for Pat on this one, just on the basis that we've seen only a few short weeks ago what Pat's team is capable of on their day, and it is redonkulous. And Ben's team, really over the last month, of course, with all the injury woes they've had, have really been just doing well to put together what they can to put up the points they have, and they've had some nice days, but this, amazingly, is the healthiest Pat's team has ever been. So, you've got to think, well, with that being the case, surely they're on par for a good week. Take your point completely about the bad matchups, but talent finds a way in fantasy more often than not as well. So, I'm actually going to go Pakistan in this one to keep their season alive. So, yeah, indeed. Lose any more, and it's sayonara for your playoff chances this season. So, and on, speaking of which, we'll move on to that actually. So, John, where are you? Thank you, John. John just handed me some comments Ben put on the YouTube channel. I didn't know John was providing that service now, but it's helpful. So Ben says Ben's got some injuries. Yeah, in quotation marks. It's perhaps an understatement. But, he also says my whole season is speculative. Well, that's accurate, I would say. Yeah.
I'd say so too, to be honest. Yes.
Go on.
For a speculative year to be 5-4, he's done all right.
You know what? I didn't drop it in, and so before last week happened, I thought, because my team and his team had done quite. Obviously, we've been through a similar journey. Ben's probably a bit worse, to be fair to him. I thought, okay, if you swapped our teams around, if I was in Ben's division with his schedule and he was in my division with mine, we would have both done exactly the same as each other. So I'd have been the one that was 5-3 entering last week with the points I'd scored week in without against his opposition, whereas he'd have been 3-5, which is obviously where I was. So both did work quite well to salvage. I suppose you can say. And his last comment is RNG. Perhaps if he employs the random number generator more, it did work in its one instance. Who knows?
I think you should do that every week, to be honest. I think you should just do that with your whole team. Number 1 to how many we got these days, 15 or whatever it is. And just do it. Just do it like that. Have 2 QBs in your 2 QBs in your team and 2 defenses, or if you Viv 3, and just do the number generator off that. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. It's great.
That would be a really interesting way of picking your team every week. Who cares about matchups? It's just what the RNG says. So.
Yeah, go on, Ben. You've got to do that now, and if you don't want to do it now, if you do end up getting eliminated or unlikely to make playoffs, do it as a bit of fun, because it would be quite
absolutely. So if you do it in the Corona Bowl final, though, I'll give you money.
Right then, so we're moving on to Debate Corner topic. The topic this week is a simple one. Hopefully, an optimistic answer. Will the Tuckfards win another game this season if Phil comes back and coaches or not?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And
yes, I think that he will. I have faith that that they'll play Pat again.
Oh dear.
And he will retain, and he'll go out with a bang. If he's going to leave, right, which is one thing that he should do, he's got to play Pat again, regain the cunt bowl. That's it. Be the chief, the cunt in chief, and then leave. All right, that's how it's going to roll, and he's going to do it against Pat in the cunt bowl. That's how it works.
There you go. You heard it first. Yeah, I'm not going to try and even top that. Yeah, I think he'll win another game, whether it's him managing it. Look, he's got Mahomes and Hopkins. That's enough to probably get you a gypsy win here and there. But yeah, if the committee does have to step in, then yeah, they'll have better days at least.
Week 12, everybody.
Circle it on your calendar. Might not be playoff intrigue, but almost certain to be marquee matchup.
You never know.
You never know. Oh yeah, with this division, there is only 2 games separate. There could be the NFC East this year, where maybe one of them goes 6-8. Wouldn't that be fun?
He's not going to win this week, so he's going to have to win the last 3. So.
Sure. Alright then, so that is it for another episode of the LOC Report. Thank you for joining us as always, Chris.
You're quite welcome, Nathan. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your week and a good weekend. And to you, dear listeners, as well. Good luck in your matchups. Unless you're playing me, of course. Goodbye.